it's Lisa. I've had these particular photos for a long time. They're from the summer of 2014, from just around our patio. These zinnias, we call them our wedding flowers because we had a garden theme to our wedding, and we gave little packets of seeds as the favors, and these were the seeds, and we planted them, and now this last year was the 14th year that they have come back, or I guess the 13th year they've come back. So every year I love to see them, and I did take some good photographs of them that year. I found some papers to go with them ages ago, but I never did scrap them. I was cleaning up this weekend and I found these and I thought, okay, I need to do this page. This paper is just a piece of watercolor paper, and I think that's mist. I don't know what I was going for, but whatever it was didn't work for a particular project. But I saved this piece of paper, and it looked so good with these photos that I put it in a drawer with these Bo Bunny papers, which are very, very bright. A little too bright for me, quite honestly. And I thought that I would use them together on a layout. So this is some of the stuff in my stash that I want to kind of move on through. So I want to find, to do a layout for this, and I thought I would use the sketchbook because I want to do this page kind of quickly and move on to some other projects. So let's start with the four photo sketches in the sketchbook and see if we can find one that works for this. You can use your sketchbook, of course, on your computer. I like to keep a printed out copy. I've had a few people mention that they had theirs bound. That's a wonderful idea. I just haven't gotten around to doing that for mine, and I just find that it works just as well to keep it unbound, but that's certainly your choice if you decide to print it. Now, if I had it on screen, I would just go over here and click on the 30, which would take me to page 30 for all the 4 photos. So let's zip over to page 30 for the 4 photo ones and see if there's one that works with these photos. That one does not look like a good fit. This one's really designed for a little bit larger photos. Now this would work really well. I could take my photos and run them along in a row like that and put one of my papers down here, but I really think I want to use a little bit larger amount of the paper. The other thing is this is designed for a pretty dominant title, and I don't really have that for this page, so let's keep looking. This would be kind of neat to put the photos down in a vertical line. I like that very much. I could do it on either side of the page, and then I could take this paper and cut it down to this one, and then use one of those other papers in the background, like maybe this yellow in the background. That would look really good. So that's certainly a possibility. This is one of the reasons why I like to keep mine free, is I can just pull that aside. Here's another option. I could put the photos in groups, but it looks like it's really designed for 2 pretty papers that are going to have almost the same amount of each one, and I don't really have that. So, okay, so that's all the 4 photos. So let's go back. The sketchbook also has additional options. If you don't find quite what you're looking for the particular number of photos, there's a use these specific sketches or easily modify sketches on these pages. So other pages for 4 photos are page 9. I could do the 4 photos here. That would work, but I don't think it's really the best choice. Page 35. That's kind of over where I was. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is one that has 4 photos or 5 photos going across, but you could easily drop it back to 4. I really like this one too because I could use my large print and then one of those others in the background. So let's set this one aside as a possibility. And then pages 36, could drop down the number of photos there, or also page 46. Let's go to page 46. That's probably a 2-pager. Yeah, I could reduce the number of photos and make that a 4 photo, but I don't want to really do a 2-pager. I could take just 1 page of this. But again, I think I've got better choices. So let's pick one of these two for our sketch, and then we can move on through the page. So which one do you like? This one with the one piece and the photos in a vertical line, or the photos going across with some kind of embellishment here and the journaling strips? Ooh, that's a tough choice. I like both of them. This one I'm going to probably end up cutting this down smaller than I would over here. And I really want to get some of this stripe in there. Let me try one thing with the stripe. I'm going to cut a couple of strips off of it and see how it would look to use it as a border around. Do this kind of deal, except have the stripes as a border going around. Let's try that. What I'm looking to see is how these stripes look when they come together at the corners. And I don't think I like them coming together. Some stripes really come together neatly in a corner arrangement. I know this from sewing striped fabrics together, but some don't, and I don't think this is one. This is one where if I use the striped paper, I think I just have to do a strip at the top and the bottom. Or over here, with this one, I could do a strip of the stripe. And do that. I kind of like that. Kind of like that. I could just do it this way and not have multiple layers here. Maybe do the stitching around there, but not put a separate paper in. Because I'm not really overly sold on any of these others. I don't think I like this stripe at all in the photos. I think it's just too busy. So I don't really feel compelled to use those. I might do a wider one of these. Still thinking about that. You know, I think I like this one. I really do. I think I like this one. So either one of these, either the 4 photo one or the 5 photo one, this is more the right size photos. These are, I think, 3 inches squares, and that's what these are. These photos are a little bit different sizes. These are 2 by 4 inch photos, so I've got a different size photo, but it still works with the arrangement. So still really cool. I'll just cut a different piece of striped paper there. And I think I'll go ahead and do the stitching. And the title block, I could take one of these papers to make the title, or I might, the title block could be out of even, you know, like a one of the 6-inch pay blocks or something. So I think this is the direction we're going, and what I'm going to do next actually is I'm going to look for some lettering for the title, but I'm also going to look for some embellishment. What would make a good embellishment here? I have a butterfly. I could do something with a butterfly with a die cut, or I could do maybe some other kind of embellishment. This one had something, I think, of the original layout had maybe some type of homemade flower and button kind of thing that went with it, but I'm going to look for something else a little bit different for the embellishment here. Okay, and you'll notice I've got everything over to the right. I've flipped the sketch. I could change that. But I like it better the other way. I really, really like it better here. I just like these photos over on the right-hand side of the page. Maybe because of this. Of course, I could rotate that, but I think I like this big blob here kind of balances the colors. So, page is coming together already. I had started to mark where I would do the stitching. That's why I have the all out there, the little pointed thing. But then I thought, well, I could put washi tape down and stitch along the side of that. And then I thought, well, I could just use washi tape. So that's what I've decided to do, is instead of doing stitching, is to do an outline of washi tape. And I'm doing this 2 inches from the edge is where the inside edge of the washi tape will be. I have a T-square ruler, but it kind of moves a little on this paper. It's not a very heavy ruler, so I'm using my other ruler to help guide. And you'll see later on that just pressing the washi tape down didn't do it. I ended up having to put a little bit of glue in the corners, and that took care of everything to hold it down on this paper. I don't know if it's because I had some color on the paper, and that background paper, that may be watercolors. I thought it was mist at first, but it may be watercolors. It's definitely not ink, because those colors are just so vibrant that I'm fairly sure it's either watercolors or mist. But nonetheless, whatever I did to create that background, I'm glad it's getting some use on this paper. So we have a little green diagonal stripe washi tape that'll just kind of give the center of this some definition. And I trim off a piece of the stripe a little bit wider. I think it was 1.5 inches. And then for lettering, I looked through my thickers. I didn't really have anything that worked, so I have these chipboard letters that I can paint. And I want it to say zinnias. And I'm going to, there's some little bits on the edges that I'm going to sand off there with an emery board. And after I was working on this, I remembered that I had some more chipboard that I could use, because I thought butterflies would make a really good embellishment, since the flowers often attract butterflies. These came from my best friend when I was visiting her. She had a bunch of different kinds of chipboard, and I went through them and picked and got some out of each pack. And I happen to have these 3 beautiful butterflies. They have all this embossing on them. So what we're going to do is cover them first with a couple of layers of white craft paint. When I paint them, I go around the outside edge really good, and then I coat the middle with just a little extra layer of the white. And then I'm going to paint zinnias in I wanted to do an orange and yellow mix, and I end up getting it a little bit orangey, but we're going to take care of that later on too. And these are just basic craft paints. And I'll paint over all those letters good. And then I come back and I put a little bit of yellow, just brush it lightly on, so it adds a little bit of mixture of orange and yellow like the color is on the background. Now for my butterflies, I want to give them some color, and I'm going to sponge over them with ink. This is Stampin' Up's regular classic ink, a lot like Distress ink in that it's a dye ink and how it goes on. And I started with some Melon Mambo, and then we're going to add a little bit of Tangerine Tango there to this. And then finally I'll put in some yellow, I think a more mustard color. I try to do them all slightly different. They ended up coming out pretty close to the same. I guess I could have done 3 different colors, 3 different butterflies, but there's some of the yellow going in the middle. And on this one around the outside edge. Kind of getting an idea how these look, how the lettering is looking. And I feel like these are going to need a little bit of finish to them. So what I'm using is some gel medium to go over zinnias. That doesn't have a lot of shine. I had some Faber-Castell glaze, but I used it all up, and I really need to get some more of that. Or find something at the craft stores in the art supply department that will give me a nice shiny glaze. I have some Mod Podge gloss, but that's not bad, but it doesn't give tons of glaze. Now for the butterflies, I'm using iridescent medium, and that looks really pretty on those butterflies. Now here's where I'm gluing the corners down that had popped up. I'm thinking the butterflies might need a little bit more color, but we'll address those in a moment. And I know I want to put some enamel dots down there in the bottom. But when I'm looking at the butterflies, what I really felt like was they needed something in the middle. So I had this trim, and I thought, well, now if I could just take little sections of that trim and do the middle, but it's way too dark. So what I really need are rhinestones, but I don't have any long strips of rhinestones. I had this heart shape. So I cut the heart into pieces and used the rhinestones off of it. Some of the larger ones in the larger butterfly, and then the smaller ones for the smaller butterfly. And that kind of fills in the middle of those. And then we'll use some enamel dots. These are ones I had labeled as very sticky. Putting them on the washi tape, they are actually not that sticky, and I could move them around a little bit until I was satisfied with their placement. Now, I accidentally got some yellow paint on my vellum printed journaling. So what I did was take a Q-tip and put some alcohol on it and pulled the paint off, and it pulled a little bit of the ink off too, but I went back over the word with a marker, and it got a little dark, so then I just took a little bit more alcohol and dabbed it off, and it worked, fortunately, because I had this glued on there and I didn't really want to have to replace it. So it came out really good. Okay, so here's our page all done, and I got to spend a little more time on the embellishments and things for the page, since I didn't spend so much time figuring out how I wanted to arrange things. I really like the rhinestones on the butterflies, and then you saw how I had to kind of fix that up a little bit where I had a little mistake there. I like using just a few of the enamel dots down here for an accent. Those are one of the things I kind of want to move along in my stash because I just have the tendency not to use them, or kind of maybe it's because I don't remember they're there, but I don't really have enough room to set them out, so just have to be conscious to use them. So in place of having a word sticker down here, I have some enamel dots. We used a little bit different size photo, but still the same arrangement with the sketch, just flipped horizontally here. And then we have our butterflies for our embellishment. Instead of stitching, did some washi tape around the edge and was able to use the sketch as a guide to design the page and get to do something fun and creative with this page that's very different than the other one that I did using the same sketch, which was a winter page. It had the stitching, it had a jelly print on it. I think it had feathers on it. It was just a very different kind of look. And this one, you'd never know they came from the same sketch, really, but they did. So thanks so much for joining me. If you are interested in the 2015 sketchbook, or if you would like some of the older sketchbooks, 2013 and 2014, they're all on the same screen. There's a link in the description for this video where you can find those, and a really good price on 2015, 40 sketches, and also 52 sketches in each of the previous years with lots of details, links back to the original video, a lot of good stuff there to help you with your scrapbooking. Thanks so much to all of you who have already purchased and who continue to watch my videos. I really appreciate it.